Hello neighbors, and welcome back to Monroe Style Improvising. This is a new video that I'm putting into the series a couple, 3 years after the series was released, the first 12-week course. And I wanted to do this for a while for a couple reasons. So this is going to be video 2A. One of the fellas who went through the course said in this first course, I was basically building the airplane that I'd be flying for the rest of the courses, which is now like 10 or 11 courses, 12-week courses. And so it was a Zoom workshop weekly during COVID. And then the cumulative accruement of all the study videos that were sent out to the workshop folks ended up becoming this course. And so we were here and there, and there's a lot of cool stuff about this course that is different from the following courses, which became more standardized, with especially in Monroe Style Improvising number 3, where you have a note-for-note video, you have demonstrations from David, and then you have a demo practice video, and you kind of follow that for each selection. But in this one, we're kind of over here, we're talking about this kind of stuff, we're talking about more general stuff, talking about fiddle tunes, talking about how to apply the devices in general ways. But I wanted to kind of circle back to the beginning here to help make folks more comfortable, hopefully, with just the general premise of how to apply the devices into tunes and songs melodies that you already know, okay? So the main 3 devices are the staggered 16th notes, usually found in the arpeggio. We'll talk about this in a second, a little bit of a review. The slidey lick, okay, and maybe let's just stop there for now. The main 3rd device is the bounce lick, but let's just focus on the first 2 main devices, staggered 16th notes and the arpeggio, and the slidey lick, okay? All right, so let's just take Mary Had a Little Lamb as an example. Hopefully y'all know this tune. If you don't know how to pick it out in G and in A in different registers and in a closed position like B flat, that would be really important work to be doing. When I'm working with students one-on-one, I advocate for the 3 pillars of practice. Pillar 1 is grunt work, scales, patterns, exercises, speed training, that kind of thing. Pillar 2 is developing your own internal repertoire. Just about everybody comes with a built-in set of tunes, like Mary Had a Little Lamb, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Jingle Bells, Happy Birthday, which is kind of more challenging if you've never tried to pick it out. It's got that one note. She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain. Some people know Skip to My Lou, Polly Wolly Doodle. These are great teacher tunes. Bringing Home a Baby Bumblebee is Arkansas Traveler in the fiddle tune repertoire of the American tradition. So it's really important, I believe, to be working with those tunes, being able to play them comfortably, confidently, and consistently without having to work too hard in the beginning. That way you're making your connection between the music that's inside and the music that's coming out of your mandolin stronger all the time. That way, when you get to, tunes that maybe you're unfamiliar with, Patty on the Turnpike, even Gold Rush, which is where Bill Monroe suggested people start with his catalog of tunes, then it'll be easier to understand how to do the little dibbles and dapples. Let's talk about dibbles and dapples just for a second. So this isn't necessarily something that's like quintessentially Monroe style, but it can be helpful when you're thinking about improvising. All right. So Mary Had a Little Lamb, and we're talking about the different registers. How do we do that? It's like, how do we pick out a tune? What I do is I'll do a little 2-finger G chord, and I'll just try to hum it. Mary had a little lamb. Let's find the chords. Little lamb, Mary had a little lamb. Fleece was white as snow. Okay. Then you try to pick that out. Mary had a little lamb, Mary had a little lamb. Fleece was white as snow. That's right on the vocal rhythm, the vocal phrasing. All right, so you pick that out in the low octave. And this is going to get more sophisticated and advanced as we go along. We're just starting at a very basic level for people that might feel overwhelmed with that first video with all the devices. What do I do with all that? Okay, then find it up in the high position. I call this 35 a lot of times because you get a 3 and you got a 5. That's your scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is the same as the 1. That's an octave right there. Okay, and this will all be part of your infinity pattern, which helps up the neck. All these notes are arpeggio notes in the key of G, starting on the major third, the 4th fret of the G. And all the notes in here work with each other. And so your double stops, you can find those easy. With those notes. Okay, so if you got your root on your G note here, and find your Mary Had a Little Lamb, all right, nothing to it in a way. And then you find that same melody in your high octave, starting on the 3rd fret of the E string. Well, that's where your root is. Mary Had a Little Lamb starts on the major third, which in this case is the 7th fret of the E. That's a hard one way up there. Okay, so next stop is going to be to put a shuffle to that. And what is a shuffle? The way that I describe it is 1/8 note and 2 16th notes. Let's talk about counting just for a second. Some people count both the front beat and the back beat as beats. So if your rhythm is like do 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 do, some people would count the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay, so that's the way that I do it. Other people would count it 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4 like that. Okay, which means you're, when you're chopping 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, that's the way I count it. So the ones, all right, are the quarter note 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Some people count the back beat, the weak beat, as a beat too. 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4. To me, it's better to count just where the bass plays. That's the strong beat. Okay, so that means that your quarter notes are going to be 1 2 3 4 like that. And your 8th notes are going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Your 16th notes are going to be 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Which means when you're playing the shuffle lick, it's going to be like this. Down, down, up. That's 1/8 note and 2 16th notes. Okay, so if you can thread that 1/8 note and 2 16th notes through your Mary Had a Little Lamb melody, it's going to come out something like this. Which may sound easy, but it may be challenging for you to pick that out all the different places. Low, high. Okay, all right. Let's talk just a little second about the dibble dabbles. Okay, so I call the dibble dabbles because it kind of sounds dibble dabble. And what's going on there is you're using your basic melody and you're kind of putting a little half step up and a half step down. So instead of just going, and you can do this different ways. You can kind of, you can go down, like, so for instance, when we're going to the D chord, Mary had a little lamb, you could go like, or you could come off the top of it. But again, it's a half step up and either a half step or a whole step down. You just follow your ear. That's the main thing, following your ear. But that can be something that you can be incorporating into this little nursery rhyme training, getting your dibble dabbles going, which is not necessarily a Monroe style device that we're talking about a whole lot, but it's something that he would do from time to time. All right, so that's a good thing to be experimenting with. All right, so just even in that first little phrase, that would be going up a half step, and then down a whole step to take the place of your. All right. Let's talk about a Monroe device, okay? So with the staggered 16th notes, as we learned on the first video, you're playing your downstroke and then you're moving on each new note with an upstroke then a downstroke. So if you're going to play a staggered scale, it's going to be like this: down, up, 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 down. Okay, and we're not going to explain these scale patterns right now. You may already be familiar with them, like the skipper scale. All right, and the folded scale. If you want to learn how to do those, go to YouTube and search for 36 scale and practice exercises. You might put my name in there. I think back then I was going by Chris Henry. Now I go by Christopher Henry. But if you type in 36 scale and practice exercises into YouTube, Chris Henry, a video will come up explaining 36 different exercises that include the straight scale, all the different iterations, 2-stroke, 3-stroke, 4-stroke. I also advocate for 6-stroke and 8-stroke scales. So what that means is, you know, straight scale, 1 stroke, 2 strokes. Oops. That's 2 strokes. 3 strokes will be triplets. You're changing your pick stroke direction each new note. All right, and then 16th notes, which would be 4 strokes per note. We skip 5 because it's not that useful, in my opinion. Go to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and then go to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can count your downstrokes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you can do that with your skipper pattern. So on and so forth with a folded scale. Really great technical training. The one that was most beneficial to me was the straight folded scale. And then I advocate playing arpeggio at the end just to get the practice into your muscle memory. All right, back to the staggered 16th notes and how we can apply that to Mary Had a Little Lamb. All right, so if our first note is going to be that major third, 2nd fret of the A, and it's going like, you can put the staggered 16th note device in there and do something like this. Okay, so what's going on there? So you're playing your melody shape, but you're using this device over it. So instead of going, you'll be playing the arpeggio, and you can do it with 3 notes. You know, you see how that's working? So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then right back to your melody there. When you get that to the 2nd fret of the A the second time, we're just getting the note real easy. And you go to your D chord. Same kind of idea. You're starting on your melody note and you're going down the arpeggio, up physically, down in terms of the tone of the pitch from the A. And so it's good to know your arpeggios in these chords, you know. That's your D arpeggio starting from the open D. So when you hit your melody note on the A string, little lamb, you can do a descending staggered arpeggio from the A string. And then right back to your melody. So that is a very user-friendly, potentially, subjectively user-friendly way to use the staggered Monroe device over a tune that you already know. All right, so it's going to come out something like this. Okay, so that's just like, you know, a beginning place for it. You know, if I was going to play this like really flossy Monroe song. the chord device there. And I was doing a little dibble dabble in there when I came back to that B note, the second fret of the A. You know, down a whole step, up a half step. And then into your staggered D arpeggio from the open A. And I was doing a little double stop action here. Monroe device over the D. You know, so you're skipping that open A, but you're still getting that staggered texture in there. You could do the open A. Okay, so then you can think about taking that to your next position. Sound in your head. You can also play the melody without the arpeggio, but still using the staggered technique. So instead of just going, like, you know, you start out with your vocal melody, and you can add your shuffle to it, or you can play it with running 16th notes. Add your staggered technique to that. So every new note in your melody starts with an upstroke. Down, up, 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 down, up. All right. So hopefully this is starting to make some connections in your mind and in your fingers. This is great stuff to practice. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the slidey lick. All right. We've learned it on the first video. What a great lick that is. Okay. So now we can start to think about how do we apply that into one of the most simple songs of all time, Mary Had a Little Lamb. All right. So let's just put it over the G chord and then go to the melody for the D chord. All right. Little shuffle in there. So you got your device, this slidey. Right back to your melody over the D chord. Come back to your melody for the G chord. Device again. And then your melody over the D chord and the G chord. All right, that's how this works. All right, so let's try using the staggered arpeggio over the G chord. Okay, let's try doing the staggered melody, slidey melody, all right? Let's reverse that, slidey melody, staggered melody. So let's do that and put a little bit more of a shuffle into the melody part. All right, and you can do it your way. That's the last lesson of Monroe Style. You know, Bill didn't do it anybody else's way. He cultivated the tradition and he brought his own thing to it. All right, let's go to a different song. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. All right, if you can't pick that out in all the different places, in G, A, and a closed position, B flat, I encourage you to really work on that. All right. Just for funsies, let's take all this up to the key of A. All right. So we pick out our basic melody. How do we do that? I like to strum the chord and see if I can hum it. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. That may be difficult for some of y'all. All right. But the more you're doing it every day, like with the 3 pillars of practice, if you have 30 minutes a day to practice, 10 minutes on grunt work, 10 minutes on developing your own internal repertoire, and 10 minutes developing your external repertoire, picking stuff out, learning stuff note for note, not using anything written down, okay, for bluegrass. Once you can play very well, then it can be okay to use tablature, use written notation. Don't necessarily advocate it. It's not something that I do, but once you can play real well and you can use your ear to figure out melodies, then it's not going to be like a crutch, because you'll be able to do it. But I still recommend, pretty much doing it by ear all the way. If you're doing classical, jazz, go for the paper, It's a part of that tradition, for this kind of music, I feel, and this is the way that our heroes learned. Very few of the master Monroe stylists learned anything from paper. All right, Bill Monroe certainly didn't, and he felt like this is the best way to do it, learning it by ear. Okay, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. This one starts on the 1, starts on your A note. Your first stop. Second stop is learning it in the low register. Third stop, learning it up here. Okay, and then from here, it's a little bit more challenging than it was to learn Mary Had a Lamb in the high octave, but you can still do it. You can do it up like this, or you can do it like this. All right. Then you put your shuffle to it. All right. It's a little bit more challenging to do that in G because you got to switch from your 5th fret of the D to the 5th fret of the A. You can still do it, but some of those places you can just have a little 8th note there instead of going. So you'll catch your shuffle on the 5th fret of the A and then continue it from there. All right. So let's think about how we can add the stagger texture to Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star on the key of A. So then you get your run and 16th notes going. And then put your stagger technique to it. So you're hitting the new notes with an upstroke first. It's a little bit challenging to get a hold of that, at first, but the more you're practicing it, the more it's going to be intuitive and all the good stuff. And you don't have to be nailed down to doing it a systematic way every single time, A little slide. A little dibble dabbles. Bounce. I haven't talked about the bounce yet, but we're just kind of getting, where we can do one little thing at a time. All right. So get your staggered arpeggio, staggered 16th notes into the flow there. Okay. So, if you're going to try to do like the Slidey Lick, think about the chords 1 and 2 and then it changes chords. All right, so our full Slidey Lick isn't going to work there, okay? How can we modulate the device to go with the chords? And so you play your front half in A, and you can play your back half in D, or at least start it. But then it goes back to the A chord. So this is a place where you're like, you do it, like, oh, what happened? It didn't quite work. This is where you got to hack into it. All right, so you get what you can. So maybe you just do the first half of it. All right. So you get a little half of it. Could we do like staggered arpeggios through all that? Yes. Happen there. So I'm coming up from the bottom of each chord. And for the staggered arpeggios, a lot of times I advocate for having the last note of the beat that you're on to be a downstroke, to be an eighth. It's like 1 E and a 2 E and, just to make it real easy to get to your next chord. And you can come up through the bottom of the D chord from the chop position, 7th fret of the G, or from the open D, and then back to your melody note maybe. All right, so. And then from here, you can continue with your melody, just getting to know it, or you could continue with the staggered stuff. If you're gonna do the staggers, it would be challenging because you're changing the chord every beat, because it goes da, 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 but you can still do it. So you can get a little, which is when you speed it up, it's a nice Monroe texture. So you're going from the bottom of the chord, from the D chord to your A chord to your E chord. All right, that's how that works. Then you're back to your melody. So if you're going to continue with the staggereds, over the melody, again, this is a little bit more complicated because you're changing the beat every chord, changing the chord every beat, but you can still get it. You lead from your melody note. All right, that would be your A, from the melody note. That would be 3 arpeggio notes. So you could just do 2. What's your next melody note? It's that D. That's your melody. So we're trying to do the staggered arpeggio over that melody line. That's just with 2. So you could do 3. A little tricky to get back to that 4th fret of the A, but you can do it. This is just stuff you flavored taste. If I was going to do it just off the cuff, it'd be like, what's going on there? That would kind of represent more the E chord tonality. And I guess you could put the E chord there. Da, 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 da. Like an E7. But I think, it might be better to go to the D chord. Da, 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 da. But you could substitute that B note for your open A. Let's do one more real quick one. All right. So Coming Round the Mountain, great teacher tune. All right. This is just kind of how I play it. Start with your basic melody. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. Shuffle. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain. right. So let's do that same little exercise. Maybe start with the staggered arpeggio and get back to your melody. Okay, so that's starting from the bottom. All right, so it's not starting from your melody note, which is the 5th fret of the D. You could start from your 5th fret of the D. It might be better for the melody, you know. So just learning to stagger your way through the chord progression is really important. Take that to A. All right. Slight modulations there, but that's just, you know, a flow example of how to arpeggiate with the staggered device through the chord progression. It may be a little bit like whoa, but you know, when you do it for 30 years, it gets easier. When you do it for, you know, a week, it gets easier. So just put your Strum Machine on. Strum Machine, the app, you know, it's got, you know, hundreds or thousands of bluegrass tunes coming around the mountains, probably in there. Most of your bluegrass standards are going to be in there. So just getting to where you can, you know, also there's a lesson or two that I did for Bluegrass Unlimited magazine on Blue Ridge Cabin Home, and may aim to put a text link to the YouTubes. It was an exclusive lesson I did for Bluegrass Unlimited. It's on YouTube, but it talks about how to do all this, you know, Blue Ridge Cabin Home. All right, and we're going to learn, you know, as the series progresses, you're going to learn a lot about how to apply this in different ways. But I just wanted to do this little video here to show you some of the very basics with the staggered arpeggios, the staggered 16th notes, and the slidey lick. All right, so just one more little thing on, okay, so, you know, we want to do like staggered, slidey, staggered for the first G chords and to come around the mountains. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, D chord for 4. So you got 12 beats, 3 bars of 4 beats over the G chord at the beginning. So you could do staggered arpeggios, slidey, staggered arpeggios, and then into your melody for the D chord. It'd be like this. Reverse that, do slidey, staggered arpeggios, slidey, then into your melody for the D chord. So that's kind of fast forwarding through the concept, but now that we've learned kind of how to paint by numbers, hopefully that will be more accessible to y'all. So we'll wrap it up for now and hope you enjoy the rest of the course. The next video is primarily the reason that I wanted to do this video, because, excuse me, I was just shooting from the hip there, you know, getting into some really advanced stuff, which I actually just taught for the first time in the last couple of weeks to a friend, and came up with a name for what it is. It's called the MFAB. It's a modulated, how's this work? Modulated folded arpeggio bounce, and that's coming up, you know, like, you know, minute 2 or 3 of the next video 2B, the original video 2B. It also has a little bit of reverb on there, but I couldn't get that off in the beginning, but I liked the teaching, so I kept it, and it's something like this. And it's really, really advanced, and it even took me like, you know, 3 years to just be able to figure out how to teach it, and even so I encourage y'all not to get overwhelmed by that, but to spend some really good quality time with this idea of developing your own internal repertoire. Mary had a little lamb, twinkle, twinkle, little star, she'll be coming around the mountain. You are my sunshine, this land is your land. When the saints go marching in, boil them cabbage down, skip to my lute, polly wolly doodle. You may be familiar with all of those or some of them. But start with the easy stuff. You know, get to know the devices, get to be able to stagger through everything, get to be able to do your slidey lick through everything, get to be able where you can switch and swap between the staggered and the melody, slidey and the melody, and then put them all in play. And then before long, if you really get to know them well and correctly, it'll start to make more sense and it'll become intuitive, hopefully. All right, so that's all for now. Wishing you well, and we'll see you on the next one.